Hi guys, my name's Tucker, and today I'm going to share with you my journey on how I went from not even realizing that I was going to be moving to Brazil to the time I got my residency, which was actually a really short time period. It was about 6 months from not knowing anything to having my residency card. And so I'll start off with, I met a woman, a beautiful woman, and fell in love, and we dated for about 10 months, and she had to go back to Brazil. She was on a visa, and I knew I wanted to marry her, and I thought I was going to bring her back to the US. I thought I was going to go down, I had a 3-week trip planned. I was going to go down and propose, bring her back to the US on a fiancé visa, and I realized that was very unrealistic after doing a little bit of research. And it would have taken a whole lot longer than the time I thought I could do it in. So we talked about it. I decided to move to Brazil, and then I started figuring out the things that I needed before I got there. And one of them was you have to have an apostille birth certificate. So you get your original birth certificate, and you have to send it to an office. There's, I think, 4 or 5 of them in the US, and I sent mine from Seattle down to a branch in Los Angeles. Along with, you also have to have an FBI, criminal record from the FBI, and can't be from all the states you've lived in or all the jurisdictions. It has to be a FBI criminal record. And then once you get, so you go do your thumbprint. I did mine at a post office. The criminal record went to the FBI. I got it sent back. I don't have a criminal record, just for the record. For the record, I don't have a criminal record. And it got sent back, and I sent that in with my birth certificate to be apostille. Both of those didn't come back to me. What I sent in to the office didn't come back to me in time, so I ended up leaving for Brazil without those. I had a PDF version. They sent me a copy of it on my email, but that was it. So I get to Brazil, and I went through customs like you have to, and it was late, and the guy never gave me he stamped my passport, but he never wrote in, you're supposed to get a number, the number 90 written on there for how many days, which isn't a big deal, but I didn't realize it at the time. So I just walked through, didn't have my the number written on my passport stamp. So my wife and I, the next day, I think it was the next day, maybe it was 2 days later, we were like set. I was in Manaus, we were going to Rio in I think a week. So we went to apply to get married, and you have 1 month, a minimum 1 month wait from the time that you go to apply to get married to the time that you can go through with getting married. So I went there, and the lady goes over, we have some documents that we're showing her, and then she looks at my passport and she sees that it doesn't have the 90. So she says, sorry, you can't do it, but if you have your CPF, then we could come back and do it. So I went to apply for a CPF. And then when we went to a bank to apply for a CPF, to open a bank account or whatever, because a CPF in theory should be very easy to get. Anybody can get them. You don't have to be applying for anything. You can just be here because the CPF is so widely used. And anyway, when we went to the bank, the guy told us that I couldn't get my CPF because I needed, it's called, I have it written down because it's hard to say, a Registro Nacional Estrangeiro, RNA. I didn't have that. So I couldn't get my CPF, and I still needed my stamp. So we went on a journey to get the stamp for my passport. It shouldn't have been. We just went back to the airport initially, and I was like, oh, well, we were in the airport. Customs should be able to do this. So I think we went to 3 different people in the airport. They all directed us somewhere else, and then we were finally directed to the federal police in the airport. And the guy was like, he was just a dick. I don't care. He was not somebody who should be in a federal police. He just blew us off, said we couldn't do it. So we left. And then we started going on a little trip around Manaus, we went to 3 different federal police stations, and not because we wanted to. It wasn't like, it was fun. It wasn't a tour of the federal police in Manaus. They all sent us, oh, you have to go here. And then finally, the last one we went to, we pull in, and the guy goes, oh no, you have to send in an email. So anyway, my wife sends in an email, and then they say that we have to be there in person. So it was a lost cause. And then we realized we'll just do it when we get back from Rio. This is done over a span of, I forget how many days, but anyway, we get to Rio, and after a few days, I emailed the US consulate because I was like, I just need this stamp I'm trying to get married. I'm trying to stay in Brazil. I just need whatever it is. I didn't realize that it was just the number 90. I thought it was, at this point, I thought it was something pretty spectacular because of how hard it was. So the U.S. consulate emailed me back and said, hey, we don't deal with this. This is for the federal police. And then, so we emailed the federal police in Rio, and they told us, we're sorry, we can't do anything. You have to get this done at the airport in Manaus. So we finished up our trip in Rio. I proposed. She said yes. We got back to Manaus. And as soon as we got back to Manaus, we went straight back to there's the federal police have an office in the Manaus airport where from the one guy who was not that great, who turned us away. And as soon as we got there, the guy called us right in. We sat down. My wife explained what was going on. The guy gave us this look like, are you serious? And he wrote this. This is what we waited for. I'm going to show you on here. So that took over a month to get right there. I mean, great guy, but it looks like a fourth grader wrote it in there. So yeah, definitely. And all of that hassle could have been solved if I would have just, if you're going through customs, since you're watching this, if you're going through customs, the dude doesn't write the number on there, make sure to be like, no, I need that number. I need 90 written on there, please. So that would have solved, that would have been a headache that we wouldn't have had. And then let's see, I have these steps written down in order because it's hard to remember them all in order without getting them mixed up. So after I got the stamp, we went back as soon as I got that stamp, we went straight to the place to apply for the marriage, and everything was accepted. So we waited the 1 month, and then we got married on June 11th. I'll never forget that date. And then right after we got married, we hired a consulting agency to guide us through the residency related procedures. It was a little, my wife knows better, but it was over 2,000 reais. So it was roughly like $400 and something. And it was worth it because there was all these things that they had to get, that they had to get do for us that I don't know if we would have been able to do in time, because I was still on the 90-day, even though I was married. So we got married. I had allotted 71 out of my 90 days in Brazil. And so technically I had 19 days before I was illegal. So I was still on a time crunch. I was happily married, but now I needed to have my criminal record my criminal record had to be apostilled or translated. My passport ID page had to be, I'm just gonna share another video where I talk about all of the different documents. Anyway, there's a bunch of documents that I had to get in, and I almost forgot I did forget that a sworn translator had to translate my passport, my birth certificate, and my original birth certificate in Manaus before I could get married. And he was there at our wedding ceremony translating for me. I could understand most of it. My Portuguese isn't horrible, but it wasn't good enough to understand. So anyway, you have to have a sworn translator do all those things. So I'm married. I still need my CPF. So in order to get my residency, I have to have CPF. And in order to get my CPF at this point, we're told, I really don't know what you really, really have to get your CPF. But I had to have a proof of address. So we had just moved into this house that we're in right now. And we had gotten our internet set up, so I took a bill. I went to an office in Rio Bonito, which is like 45 minutes away, and they didn't even have a website, so we just had to go there in person. They were closed, and so I had to go back. I had to schedule a visit in person and then go back. And when I went back, the lady was really nice. It was awesome. Even though she talked to my wife because she had to translate some things that I couldn't understand. But yeah, the proof of address ended up being me writing my address down on a piece of paper. I took all of the documents, but it was weird. It was like I just had to know my address by heart. I have no idea what that test was. But anyway, I passed. I'm gonna cover this up, but that's my CPF is just, I'm sure that somewhere in the world is a hard copy, but that's my CPF right there. And then after getting my CPF, so this is very end of June, so I'm super close to the 90 days. we finally were able to schedule an interview down in Niterói at the federal police for my residency status. So I'm like 3 days away from, I knew I wasn't gonna make it. There's a 100 AI fine per day that you stay over 90 days. So we were trying to schedule it for as soon as possible. The consulting company that we had hired was sending in all the documents that we needed. We went to Niterói, we handed in all of the documents that we had to take a bunch of documents with us. And like I said, I'll just have all those documents in another video, just a list of everything that you're gonna have to have. So we get to Niterói and everything's good except one of the guys, the lady that had my case was awesome. There was a guy we could hear them talking. We were in a waiting room and then they were going over all my documentation and we could hear him. And he was saying that I should have to pay, I think I was like 12 days past, so I should have had to pay 1,200 AI, so like a little over $200 for overstaying. And she was awesome. She said that because it was beyond our control and because of COVID and all the delays and all the paper, the stuff that shouldn't have taken as long, she waived that fee. And then I think my criminal record was also technically expired. Oh, that's another thing you have to have is your criminal record in Brazil. So if you're here for a certain amount of time, whether it's a day or I was already there for 3 months, you have to have your criminal record from all the jurisdictions that you live. It's not a federal thing. You have to, if you lived in or stayed or whatever, went on vacation in any of those places, you have to have your criminal record from those places. So my wife took care of that. My wife had already taken care of, got my criminal record from Manaus. I did not have, didn't commit any crimes in Manaus. And so had all that stuff, went to Niterói. The lady that handled our case was awesome. And I ended up getting my residency on, I have it here. Okay, well this card, July the 8th actually. Okay, so it wouldn't have been 2000 reais. But yeah, July the 8th, I'm just gonna cover that. I have my RNM, but yeah, there you go. I look like a member of the KGB. But all in all, it's actually impressive because I went from, I didn't know I was gonna move to Brazil to, I'm a Brazilian resident, February, March, 6 months, a little over, like 6 months. And even though there was dealing with the federal police in Manaus it wasn't very fun, but it was still, in the grand scheme of things, it was way faster. Being married and being a resident here went 10 times faster than it would have for my wife to have done the same in the US. I would probably still be trying to bring her up to the US right now. So anyway, that's my journey of how I became a Brazilian resident. And and you also are given 10 years. So, or 2021, 9 years. So I have till 2030, July 8th of 2030 to apply for, I guess, citizenship. So I should be pretty fluent by then. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and then I'll be posting more videos about life here in Brazil. Some are gonna deal with tips, daily life in Brazil, speaking Portuguese or trying to speak Portuguese. Other ones are just for fun, kind of the daily life around Saquarema. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and follow.